तुम्हारी मैंने सुबह को शाम लिखा, मैंने सुबह को शाम लिखा, मैंने खत महबूब के नाम लिखा, मैंने खत महबूब के नाम लिखा। शबनम के दाने चुराओ, तेरे गुलाबी लबों से शबनम के दाने चुराओ, जो बात खत में लिखी ना आजा तुझे मैं बताऊं। कब बुझेगी जाने डोली कब सजेगी, रब ने क्या अंजाम लिखा, रब ने क्या अंजाम लिखा, मैंने खत महबूब के नाम लिखा, मैंने खत महबूब के नाम लिखा। कागज पे दिल की कलम से पहली बार सलाम लिखा, पहली बार सलाम लिखा, मैंने खत महबूब के नाम 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 लिखा।
जिसको प्यार किया है, जिसको प्यार किया है, मैंने जिसको दिल ये दिया है, मैंने जिसको प्यार किया है, वो हो तुम, वो हो तुम, वो हो तुम। पर मुझे लग रहा है मेरी जिंदगी में ना अब कुछ कमी है। तुम्हें पाके दिल पर मुझे लग रहा है मेरी जिंदगी में ना अब कुछ कमी है। तुम्हारे लबों पे जो बिखरी पड़ी है वो शबनम नहीं है, वफा की नमी है। जिसने मेरा चैन लिया है, मेरा चैन लिया है, जिसने मेरा चैन लिया है, मेरा चैन लिया है। दिल ये दिया है। जिसको दिल ये दिया है, मैंने जिसको प्यार किया है, वो हो तुम, 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 वो हो तुम।
मैंने जिसको दिल ये दिया है, दिल ये दिया है।
मैंने जिसको प्यार किया है, जिसको प्यार किया है,
मैंने जिसको दिल दिया है, मैंने जिसको प्यार किया है,
वो हो तुम, वो हो तुम, वो हो तुम, वो हो तुम,
वो हो तुम, वो हो तुम, वो हो तुम, वो हो तुम।
जो मेरी रूह को चैन दे प्यार दे वो खुशी बन गए हो तुम जिंदगी बन गए हो तुम जिंदगी बन गए हो तुम
जो मेरी रूह को चैन दे प्यार दे वो खुशी बन गए हो तुम जिंदगी बन गए हो तुम जिंदगी बन गए हो तुम
जिस्म से जान तक पास आते गए इन निगाहों से दिल में समाते गए जिस्म से जान तक पास आते गए इन निगाहों से दिल में समाते गए जिस हंसी ख्वाब की थी तमन्ना मुझे हाँ वही बन गए हो तुम जिंदगी बन गए हो तुम जिंदगी बन गए हो तुम
जो मेरी रूह को चैन दे प्यार दे वो खुशी बन गए हो तुम जिंदगी बन गए हो तुम जिंदगी बन गए हो तुम हर किसी से जिसे मैं छुपाती रही बेखुदी में जिसे गुनगुनाती रही हर किसी से जिसे मैं छुपाती रही बेखुदी में जिसे गुनगुनाती रही मैंने तन्हा कभी जो लिखी थी वही शायरी बन गए
1. Avengers, Doomsday. What if Iron Man came back as a villain? Avengers, Doomsday flips the MCU completely, with Robert Downey Jr. returning. Not as Tony Stark, but as Doctor Doom. This isn't just any villain. Doom is a genius, a ruler, and possibly a twisted variant of Stark himself. That means the Avengers won't just be fighting an enemy. They'll be facing someone who reminds them of their fallen hero. With the multiverse collapsing, Doom's mission is simple. Control everything. Expect mind games, emotional conflict, and one of Marvel's darkest stories yet. This might be the Avengers' most personal battle ever. 2. The Mandalorian and Grogu. The galaxy's favorite duo is finally hitting the big screen. The Mandalorian and Grogu takes Din Djarin and Grogu beyond Disney Plus into a full cinematic adventure. Grogu is no longer just Baby Yoda. His force powers are growing, and that makes him a target. Meanwhile, Din faces a bigger question. What does it truly mean to be Mandalorian in a rebuilding galaxy? With new threats rising and Mandalore at stake, this story mixes action, emotion, and destiny. This isn't just a show anymore. It's a full Star Wars event. 3. Dune, Part 3. Paul Atreides won, but at what cost? Dune, Part 3 continues his journey as Emperor, but now the galaxy is at war in his name. Directed by Denis Villeneuve, this chapter dives into the darker side of power. Paul can see the future, but he can't stop it. Betrayal, politics, and inner conflict take center stage as he struggles with the consequences of his rise. This isn't just sci-fi. It's a story about destiny turning into a curse. 4. Toy Story 5. You thought their story was over. Think again. Toy Story 5 brings Woody, Buzz, and the gang back for another emotional adventure. But this time, the world has changed. Kids are growing up in a digital age. What does it mean to be a toy when children prefer screens over imagination? Expect nostalgia, laughter, and a powerful message about change and relevance. Pixar is ready to make you emotional all over again. 5. Spider-Man, Brand New Day. Peter Parker is truly alone now. After No Way Home, no one remembers who Spider-Man really is. Not even MJ, played by Zendaya. In Brand New Day, Tom Holland returns to a darker, more grounded story. No Avengers, no backup, just him. But new villains are rising, and Peter must rebuild his life from scratch. This could be the most emotional Spider-Man story yet. 6. The Odyssey. One of the greatest stories ever told is getting a massive cinematic remake. Directed by Christopher Nolan and starring Matt Damon, The Odyssey follows a hero trying to find his way home. But the journey is filled with monsters, gods, and impossible choices. With Nolan's signature storytelling, expect a complex and visually stunning experience. This could redefine what an epic movie looks like. 7. The Devil Wears Prada 2. Fashion is back, and so is Miranda Priestley. Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway reunite for the sequel. But the industry has changed. Social media and influencers now control trends. Can Miranda still dominate in this new world? Expect drama, power struggles, and iconic moments. 8. Supergirl. A new hero rises, but her story is darker than you expect. Millie Alcock stars as Kara Zor-El. Unlike Superman, she grew up witnessing Krypton's destruction. That trauma shapes her identity and her decisions. This isn't just about saving the world. It's about dealing with pain and loss. 9. Moana, live action. Disney is bringing Moana back, but this time in live action. Dwayne Johnson returns as Maui, bringing the same energy fans loved. The story follows Moana's journey to save her people and discover who she truly is. With real-world visuals and updated storytelling, expect a fresh but familiar experience. 10. The Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping. Before Katniss, there was Haymitch. This prequel explores his story during the 50th Hunger Games. Unlike previous games, this one was twice as deadly. We finally see how Haymitch became the person we know. This is a darker, more brutal chapter of the Hunger Games universe. 11. Wuthering Heights. A classic love story returns with a darker edge. Directed by Emerald Fennell and starring Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. This is not just romance. It's obsession, revenge, and tragedy. Expect intense emotions and haunting visuals. 12. Project Hail Mary. A man wakes up alone in space with no memory. Ryan Gosling stars in this sci-fi survival story. As his memory returns, he realizes he's on a mission to save Earth. But he might not be alone. This is a mix of science, mystery, and unexpected friendship. 13. Tron, Ares. The digital world returns. Jared Leto leads this new chapter in the Tron universe. This time, the digital world may cross into reality. Expect neon visuals, action, and a deeper exploration of technology. 14. Scream 7. Ghostface is back again. Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox return. With Kevin Williamson directing, the story goes back to its roots. New victims, new killers, and more twists. No one is safe. 15. Fantastic Four: First Steps. Marvel's first family finally joins the MCU. Directed by Matt Shakman, this film introduces a new era. Expect origin stories, team dynamics, and major connections to the future of Marvel. This is just the beginning. 16. 28 years later, The Bone Temple. The infection never ended. Directed by Nia DaCosta, this continues the terrifying story. Decades later, the world is still broken. Survival is harder, and the threat is evolving. This is horror on a whole new level. 17. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. It all ends here. Tom Cruise returns as Ethan Hunt won last time. The stakes are higher than ever. Impossible missions, dangerous stunts, and a final showdown. This is the conclusion of an iconic franchise. 18. The Bride. A classic monster story gets reimagined. Directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal and starring Christian Bale. This version focuses on identity, creation, and humanity. It's not just horror, it's emotional and thought-provoking. 19. Sinners. A dark story set in the Jim Crow South. Ryan Coogler reunites with Michael B. Jordan. This blends horror with real historical tension. Expect powerful storytelling and deep themes. 20. Now You See Me, Now You Don't. The Four Horsemen are back. Magic meets crime in this third installment. Heists, illusions, and unexpected twists return. Nothing is ever what it seems. Top 20 horror movies. 1. The Exorcist. A young girl becomes possessed, leading to one of the most terrifying exorcisms ever shown on screen. Often considered the scariest movie of all time. 2. Hereditary. A disturbing family tragedy slowly turns into something deeply sinister. Psychological horror at its finest. 3. The Conjuring. Paranormal investigators take on a terrifying case involving a haunted family home. 4. Insidious. A child falls into a mysterious coma connected to a dark spiritual realm. 5. Get Out. A seemingly normal visit to a girlfriend's family reveals a chilling and disturbing secret. 6. A Nightmare on Elm Street. A killer attacks teenagers in their dreams, where escape is nearly impossible. 7. Halloween. A masked killer stalks victims in one of the most iconic slasher films ever made. 8. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. A group of friends encounters a brutal cannibal family. 9. A shape-shifting clown terrorizes children by feeding on their fears. 10. The Ring. A cursed videotape dooms anyone who watches it to die within 7 days. 11. Paranormal Activity. A couple records strange supernatural events happening in their home. 12. The Babadook. A mysterious presence from a children's book begins to haunt a grieving mother and her son. 13. Saw. Victims are forced into deadly games that test their will to survive. 14. The Shining. Isolation drives a man into madness inside a haunted hotel. 15. Sinister. A writer discovers disturbing footage linked to a deadly supernatural entity. 16. The Nun. A demonic entity in the form of a nun terrorizes a monastery. 17. Annabelle. A possessed doll becomes the center of horrifying supernatural events. 18. Us. A family is hunted by their own terrifying doubles. 19. A Quiet Place. In a world where sound attracts deadly creatures, silence is the only way to survive. 20. The Descent. A cave exploration turns into a nightmare when terrifying creatures appear underground.
So let me fly you straight up to Nigeria, where Ibom Airlines is in the news. In fact, as we speak, the airline is trending due to a particular video that is circulating online. In fact, that particular video has gone super viral. Everyone is talking about it on social media. It has to do with the cabin crew of Ibom Airlines and a particular lady who we have come to know as Comfort Emanson. Don't panic. It is not about any aircraft, crash or something like that, but it has everything to do with a clash between this Comfort Emanson and then one particular air hostess that works with Ibom Airlines. And that is the full gist that I am about to give you today. So stick and stay, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and then share with others so that they get to know what is actually trending across Africa and the world as a whole. So without further ado, note that the heat is on. So, to be fair, all that we are going to discuss today is one part of the story. It actually does not include the account of the lady in question, that is Comfort Emanson. Whatever I'm going to discuss with you today has to do with what is trending online, and then from the statement released by Ibom Air. So as we record this video, we don't have the benefit of the account of that particular lady in question. All right, so let's go on now. On the 10th of August 2025, videos started circulating on social media, including this particular lady you see here, who we have identified as Comfort Emanson, and air hostess from Ibom Airlines. Now, per what has happened, or per reports, this Ibom airline was scheduled to fly from Uyo to Lagos in Nigeria. And, honestly, that is what I also know, that before takeoff, pilot or even the air hostess announces that all phones or, gadgets like that should be turned off until after takeoff, right? So report has it that this particular air hostess informed all passengers to do that exactly. But Comfort Emanson refused. It took the pilot to make that announcement once more for other passengers to comply and then switch off their phones and other gadgets like that. But still, Comfort did not budge. She wouldn't have none of whatever that these crew were saying. All right. And then it is reported that a passenger seated next to Comfort actually took her phone and then switched it off. All right. Fast forward, the flight took off as scheduled. It landed safely in Lagos, Nigeria. Per the report, Comfort waited for all the passengers to disembark. And after that, she confronted the air hostess you are seeing on your screens. And from the reports, it got messy. It is alleged that Comfort started assaulting this particular air hostess. And in fact, per the videos that we have, you can see that she was actually, hitting her, slapping, and then, other stuff, which led to the cabin, calling the security at the Murtala Mohammed airport to come to their rescue, because that passenger was actually being a thorn in their flesh, doing all manner of things. And if care was not taken, she was going to damage part of the aircraft. To appreciate what I've said so far, it is important you watch this video. After that, I'll read to you what the statement from Ibom Airline says.
I can see. You remove my wig. What did you do? Take it easy with. I said what you did. I said what you did.
After being forcibly taken down the aircraft, you could see that Miss Comfort was still upset, to the extent that she even wanted to attack some of the cabin crew and then security personnel around.
She's destroying the aircraft. She's beating her. She slapped her eye. She wants to grab a quick thing. She slapped her. She's destroying the aircraft.
And to the extent that she even tried to hit the one holding this particular camera, the one who actually, captured this footage. And it wasn't a pleasant sight. And eventually they had to, manhandle her, kind of mold her into a waiting bus to be sent to wherever she was sent to.
I'm going to bring her come down. Aziz, bring your luggage.
Now let's take a listen to the statement from Ibom Air. So we have press statement for immediate release, Uyo, 11th August 2025, incident involving an unruly passenger on August 10, 2025. Ibom Air confirms that on Sunday, August 10, 2025, an incident occurred on board our Uyo Lagos flight involving a passenger, Miss Comfort Emanson, whose conduct posed a serious threat to the safety of our crew, passengers, and aircraft. Shortly before takeoff from Uyo, Miss Emanson was instructed, in line with standard aviation procedures, to switch off her mobile phone. She bluntly refused to comply until pilot in command made an announcement, after which a fellow passenger seated beside her took the phone and switched it off. This action prompted a verbal tirade from Miss Emanson. The situation was eventually calmed and the flight departed as scheduled. Upon arrival in Lagos, Miss Emanson waited for all other passengers to disembark and then proceeded to confront the purser who had earlier instructed her. She walked up to the unsuspecting purser, stepped on her, forcibly tore off her wig, removed her glasses and threw it on the floor, and used her footwear to assault her. She slapped her several times, and when the other cabin crew members tried to intervene, she slapped her too. She then attempted to forcibly remove a fire extinguisher to use as a weapon, an act that could have damaged and grounded the aircraft. By this time, the pilot in command had alerted airport security. Before security could arrive, the purser, as seen on the viral video on the internet, prevented the passenger from leaving the aircraft until security arrived. The arrival of Ibom Air security personnel did not deter the passenger as she attacked them as well, lashing out violently at the security personnel. She was then restrained and removed from the aircraft by force. Even after disembarking, she continued to assault Ibom security personnel and even slapped the ground supervisor. The passenger was removed from the ramp and taken into custody by FAAN security and handed over to the Nigeria Police Force for further investigation. Ibom Air has since submitted a report on the incident to the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority and placed a travel restriction on Ms. Emanson, who will no longer be permitted to fly on any of our aircraft. Ibom Air reiterates its zero-tolerance policy towards any form of unruly or violent misconduct that threatens the safety of passengers, crew, or equipment. Such behavior will be met with strongest possible response, including legal action and permanent restriction from our services. We commend the bravery and professionalism of our crew in handling the situation under extremely challenging circumstances, as well as swift support from airport security and the Nigeria Police. Safety remains our highest priority. We urge all passengers to comply with crew instructions at all times for safety, security, and comfort of everyone on board. Signed, Ibom Airlines Limited, August 11, 2025. So this is how far we've gotten with this particular issue that is trending currently on all social media platforms. Now, as I indicated early on, this is just one side of the story. We are yet to hear the account of the victim, or let me say the passenger in question, who happens to be Miss Comfort Emanson, and we are following the story keenly. Whatever comes out of it, be it her account or any latest development, you are going to be the first to know. So in the meantime, let us know what you think about this particular trending story involving Ibom Airlines and passenger Emanson. So today is 6th August 2025. It's a Wednesday, and just about an hour or two ago, Ghana was put in a state of mourning. Now, let me tell you what has actually happened. There is this Ghana Armed Forces helicopter that flew from Accra and was heading towards Obuasi in the Ashanti region of Ghana. A few hours ago, the Ghana Armed Forces issued a statement indicating that that particular helicopter, which they named the Z9, had gone off radar, and efforts were currently underway to restore contact with the helicopter or the crew or the pilot. So, many Ghanaians were praying that something positive comes out of it, that the helicopter lands safely, or probably it was maybe a minor glitch, that's kind of cut contact with the Ghana Armed Forces. But not too long ago, we were hit with the sudden news that that particular helicopter, Z9, had crashed in a particular village called Adansibrofedu, or Ekrufrum, near Obuasi, which is also in the Ashanti region of Ghana. And all crew members, or let me say at least 4 people, were actually burnt beyond recognition. I was in my farm when I saw the helicopter fly past. The next thing I saw was that the helicopter had crashed, so I decided to go closer and take a look. I saw at least 3 people bent beyond recognition. This was basically what I saw before others came to have a look as well. And thus has actually shaken the very foundation of this particular country. And to make it even worse, the personalities involved in the accident, it is alleged, not confirmed as I am making this video, it is alleged that the defense minister, who is Dr. Edward Omanibuama, is part of those, or was part of those who were on board that particular Z9 helicopter bound for Obuasi. And as I indicated early on, those on board were bent beyond recognition. And in fact, there is an attached video where you can see the remains of these people. And in fact, other bodies were still on fire, which it is very disturbing. So viewer discretion is strongly advised. It is not a pleasant sight to watch.
Me video we no da. Me video about the jani jamu nyina ye dipa na ehye sa.
We were still, trying to find out whether or the identities of these other individuals, because it is alleged Dr. Omanibuama, who happens to be the defense minister, is part. But other, news coming in is alleging that those other people involved, aside the pilot who were military men, obviously, other top government officials, including Honorable Emmanuel Amakofi-Bua. It is not confirmed yet. In fact, it is Bongo Ideas who is suggesting that. So, and that is the picture from his post attached in this video. It is not confirmed yet as I was making this particular video, but information from the grapevine, allegations or suspicions are rife that these individuals are part of those who currently, though not confirmed, have perished, because we need, medical confirmation. But from the pictures we are seeing, it is very unfortunate, to say the least. It is quite sad. And as we are, trying to come to terms with the demise of Daddy Lumba, a global icon in terms of music, we are hit with yet another disaster, another devastating news involving government officials who most definitely were on and about on official duties. So we are standing by, and I hear that there is a press briefing going on. Whatever comes out of it, you are going to be the first to know. This particular time, this heat is quite a sad one. So let's meet at the other side when we get hold of, further details concerning this particular development. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
The plane be chairman, the woman say plane abo. And I'm tracing some call akwa akoshe. Na me call no na plane so abo ha, plane ahye. Nipa a omo no. The many who are bad nipa trade here. You so mo plane ma omo nyina ahye ba ko plane wa. Otumi survive here omo nyina ahye. Sa na me ko hu ye. Ansa na million mo ba ama ye nyina akwa akoshe. The me hu ya no. Sabani kuma sase, give them, show them, give them, show them, give them, show them, give them, show them.
which connected them with the females to the door of no return. They didn't want the slave to come and pass here, because some will misbehave here and they can't control them. They didn't want those in the community to even have a feel about whatever was happening here. So underground, from the dungeon, they will pass through. So by the time they realize they're in the ship already. The tunnel was blocked in the year 1834 just to symbolize British end of slavery. That's why we couldn't go through. Here is a portion of that end that we couldn't go through in the dungeon. Nobody goes inside from here or outside from here. There's no stairs connecting anybody in or out. It's just a walkway or a passageway. Here was something like a checkpost. So a soldier will be here with a gun, just to be telling them to be moving faster, move, move, move. And the soldier here just to do a head count, to check if the number coming from the dungeon, the same number they have here. If you want to have a clear view, one leg inside like this, you watch your head, you come back. One after the other. The down floors were where they stored their commodities. The middle one and the last one, with the exception of the palaver hall, the auctioning block, the rest were apartments for the Europeans. Doctors, nurses, maids, children, they were all living upstairs here. Let's see the exit point of this tunnel. This is the exit point of the tunnel. You saw the entrance block at the main dungeon. The men will start from there, they will be here. And I just show you a portion of it up here. Females will come from their room, they will come and join the men here. Then they all use this place to the ship. So here was the initial door of no return. Here it was blocked because the sea was coming inside. And sometimes it do flood all this place. So there was a need for them to block here and then create a new door for them out there. Right after this wall is the sea. But today we have sea defense there. So if not the sea defense there, as we are standing here today, you see the waves coming to hit the wall and going back. Because of the sea defense there. That's why we cannot experience it today. We all went to the condemned cell for the men, just to kill the men who wanted to fight for their freedom in the dungeon. Let's see the punishment cell for the females. That's why I just want us to take the lead. The door was very short and narrow, and it was designed for only one person to pass through at a given time. It became a bigger door like this because some years back, Cape Coast was the first capital town of Ghana before it was moved to Accra. And this same castle was the seat of government during the colonial time. Goods and services were passing through this door, so there was a need for them to change the short door to a bigger one like this. Door of no return because once you pass here to the ship, there's no turning back for you. Door of no return because the moment you pass here, you lose your identity, your friends, family, everything. You won't even get a chance to say goodbye to your family. So if you are called Kojo, Ama, or any local name here, once you get there, you'll be given your slave master's name. The short door the slaves were passing through, for the British, they were using the stairs up here. The sea was just down there before the sea defense here was constructed about 5 years ago. Smaller boats will come and pick them from here to the bigger ships because the bigger ships were able to come to the shores. When they were here, all this place was called the Europeans' beach. It was only meant for them to do whatever they want to do here. No black man or woman was allowed to come here. As we saw here, door of the tent, because in the year 1998, Ghana celebrated its first Emancipation Day, or what we call the Great Homecoming, where we invite the blacks from the diaspora to come back home. 1998, when they were coming, they brought 2 skeletons, one from Jamaica, one from New York, Madam Crystal, Samuel Carson. They first settled at Accra. They came all the way to a place called Abanzi, where we have Fort Amsterdam. From there, they decided not to come to the castle by using the car, but then they will use the sea to the castle here. Same way they were taken away by the sea, they will come back with the sea. Rituals and ceremonies were performed for them at the court here. Then the skeletons were taken back to Asemanso for reburial, because they couldn't trace their ancestral roots. Also, it was just to break the curse of the door of no return that some years back, nobody used this place and never came back. But at least we have skeletons or mortals to come back home. That's why we have the door of return there. If you want to take a picture with the door of return, we do so, we all go back, then we sum up everything from there. because of how dark the chambers were, some were partially blind the moment they encountered the sun rays. Because here minimum is a day, and maximum 3 to 4 months, you will stay here waiting for the ship. Few seconds, I will turn off the light for you to see how the chambers were when the enslaved Africans were here. I don't know the time for now, but then you saw how dark the room is when the light went off. So imagine around 7 to 8 p.m. It wasn't that easy here. Influx of mosquitoes everywhere. So staying here for about 3 months without light and going out to meet the sun rays, at least it will have an effect on your eye. We are in the male slave dungeon, 5 rooms. Each chamber could hold about 150 to 200 men here, each. So mathematically, the 5 will give us about 750 to 1,000 men total. Once you are brought here, you are forced to eat. You defecate, urinate, sleep, and do everything here. In the castle here, we have 2 types of slave. Commercial ones, domestic ones. Commercial ones were those kept here, just to await shipment. Domestic ones were those coming to clean the dungeon. But because they were not doing that on a regular basis, when they come, the few that they could clean, they cover the rest with sand. It got to a time the sand mixed up with their fuses, vomit, tears, blood, flesh, everything, and it accumulated to a level like this. So the floor that we are standing on right now happens to be the original floor of the dungeon. Whatever that we walk on, or we walk on from the second room to the last room was their decomposed waste, or the solidified waste. So we walk on their fuses, everything mixed with the sand from the second room to the last room. Bricks here, no bricks over the bricks here because in the year 1974, we got this room excavated by some students from the University of Gane. And they left this portion for us to see. Telling us at first all the floor was covered with their waste. So if you are to excavate the rest of the rooms, we are to see bricks over there as we are seeing here today. So this is the DNA of our ancestors. Trenches in the middle here, at the back there and both sides here, serving as the passageway for all the liquid waste to pass through to the sea. For the British, India, they believe that when it rains and from the direction of the wind, it should direct the rain through this roads to fall down, come and wash everything to the sea. But you can ask yourself, how often does it rain? And maybe when it rains, maybe the rain will not direct the rain here. That's why everything was able to raise together to that level. Once you die here as an African, there's no befitting barrier for you. Bodies were loaded in a sack, cannonballs added straight to the sea. So the Atlantic Ocean there happens to be a mass barrier for most of our ancestors. But for the British, when they die here, they will be buried at the port here. Only those who had the doors shut on them because those who were here wanted to fight for their freedom. They were taken to the condemned cell to die there. So the condemned cell was designed for those in this room alone, because we sometimes call here the strong room or the stronghold. When you turn here, we have small holes on the wall here. There are about 6 or so. The most rebellious ones in this room were chained on the wall. Bigger hole up there because the slaves were more aggressive. They were able to pass here every day to give them food to eat. So sometimes they would stand up there, then they would train food downs. So it was more or less like the survivor of the fittest. There's any question. If there's no question, quickly we see the church. We go to the governor's residence, then we end everything at the door. No, I said you defecate and do everything. Alright, let's go. Purely for Europeans, neither purely for Africans. It was for the male race children. You see, when they were here, they had children with some of the female slaves, and these children were not considered. That small room over there is personal office for any documentation to be signed. Come let me show you the cameras. They have holes inside them, so they will just add gunpowders. They will put it at the top here, they will light it up here. And because of the gunpowders putting inside, when it touches the incoming ship, it will explode. Those without holes inside them, they just create holes within the ship for it to sink. So that was the British, their strategy here. That they used to stay here for about 296 years. 113 for colonialism, 183 for slave trade. When you look up there, there is a white building with a red or brown roofing up there. Yeah. That's Fort Williams. Soldiers were there, soldiers were in the castle here. Those up there see afar when someone is coming. And because there was nothing like mobile phone, those up there will prompt the soldiers here by using red flag in the morning, refreshing up the mirror afternoon, torchlight in the evening as a form of communication, just to inform the soldiers here to be stationed along the canals to defend this whole edifice. Please, any question? All right. Then let's see the established by Captain George Martin, the Mahoda Day 46. Let's see the palaver or the auctioning block.
Very. I could sign conventions in the idea. The young question would be many. Let me cry.
They had the alarms above as an African. And I said over there, their beards and hairs were shaved to hide any form of gray hair. They smear shea butter on their skin for them to look attractive and also hid their wounds. They marched them barefooted to the castle. When they got here, the very first place that they were taken to was this room, the auctioning block, where the highest bidder here will get a slave. We have the European merchants here, slaves are here, doctors and nurses will examine each body's strength before the leaving auction. So if let's say a merchant wants to buy a slave for maybe 10 cedis, I'm just using the Ghana cedis. Then to hear someone wants to buy him for the pen door here, the floor, they are still original, we have not changed. These are marble stones imported from Britain. And that small wooden structure here to the first door only, also pitch pine wood imported from Britain. They are still original till now, we have no change. Where we are seeing the crab shop down here happens to be soldier barracks. The middle one here was their canteen. Later on, all this place became a prison during the colonial time for those in Cape Coast. But then they refused because they said no. Why is it that they kept their ancestors in the dungeon and now here as a prison for them? It's almost the same thing. So they have to move the prison from here to a place called Ankafo. Ghana first prison started right from here. And you are coming on your right is Ghana first court, established by Captain George Martin, the man who died at the age of 46. Like I told you, he introduced us to the Western type of court. Let's glance through, there you see the palaver or the market. The governor's living room having 9 windows.
I'm going to start history now. So, I'm going to start history now.
For you to walk from your house, you pass through 1,000 and you come and worship and go back home. Nobody will allow you. So they took some of the road from the bigger one to the town to continue to worship trade. When we gained our independence, 1957, 1960 Ghana became a republic. Then 1974, they brought back the stone to its original place and they made this altar here. In Cape Coast, they believe in 77 divinities or 77 deities. And this one happens to be the leader of all the gods in Cape Coast. The name of the god here is called Nana Kabe. The man sitting here is the priest in charge of the shrine. So for those who still believe in the African spiritualism, they do come here every day, sit on the stools, communicate with the man for their repairs to be granted. Money here is like you going to church and giving offering. People who come here randomly bring the money, put it here and go back home to be with us. The chain here isn't the original chain, just here for the sparrows. Just to inform us that when they were here, nobody was able to move up and down, but then they were in chains and shackles. Wreaths and flowers here are from tourists like you who visit us. We believe our ancestors were thrown to the sea, but then we cannot litter the sea with the wreath and the flowers, so we just put it here. Just to honor and respect them, that's what it is. So any place that you will find it in the castle, they serve the same purpose. Place any person. So if in case you are selected in the dungeon that they want to sexually abuse you and you don't accept it, you'll be here for about a week just for you to have a change of mind. If in case you are here and you still try to prove stubborn, they will give you some of the cannonballs to carry them at a time, which you can't. So meaning they will force their way through. You will fed once through the hole here. And there's a bigger hole down here where they urinate and do everything here. If in case you are found pregnant before the ship arrives here, they just build them stone houses outside the castle. Treat you as if you are no more a slave. Wait for you to deliver, you breastfeed your baby for about 3 months. And thereafter also the mother, you are being brought back to the dungeon. And the children were being educated at the school. Today children's library. If in case you are found pregnant whilst you are the ship moving, they will just push you inside the sea just for you to die. Because they don't want any pregnant woman to be working on their plantation. Conditions on the ship moving was very difficult than those in the dungeon here, because on the ship moving for about 3 months, they were packed head, tail, head, tail. So if my head is here, someone leg is here. And sometimes they do offload some of the slaves to the sea just to balance the ship movement, because the ship had become too heavy for them. So they just threw them over. Let's see where our mothers and sisters were being.
So which picture of you providing? So which picture?
I'm interested in the story.
Okay.
See, you're taking some direction.
So there you have it. A mix of the most talked about horror movies right now, and the chilling titles still on the way. From psychological thrillers to supernatural scares and intense slashers, the horror genre continues to push boundaries and keep audiences hooked. One thing is clear, horror is not slowing down anytime soon. With bigger stories, darker themes, and more creative storytelling, fans can expect even more unforgettable scares in the coming months. Now it's your turn. Which of these movies are you most excited to watch? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on the latest in entertainment. Stay scared, and I'll see you in the next one.